Hi, I'm Bob Simpson, MLA for Cariboo North with my updates. Well, another interesting week in BC politics. This week we had the Premier sworn in. Christy Clark is now officially the Premier of the province of British Columbia, and the new cabinet. And I'm slowly just going through the different cabinet positions to try and make sense out of it and to try and figure out what is going to work for us, where we need to do some interventions with ministers to understand what our priorities are. Of course, as many people are asking my office, how do we end up with an unelected person as Premier of the province of British Columbia? And this is no criticism of Christy Clark. She is doing what she has a right to do to take over the reins. But the legislature in the province of British Columbia was designed to have only elected members choose a Premier, elected members choose a cabinet, and it's after 100 and so odd years that we've evolved to having political parties have as much control over the legislative assembly that they have. So with respect to the cabinet, I've said there's three things that we need in addition to the cabinet. The cabinet has some interesting things. We have Pat Bell and Shirley Bond, two Prince George MLAs that have fairly decent portfolios with respect to our agenda. Pat Bell having the jobs and innovation and being able to drive the resetting and stimulating the industry in order to create jobs, and he will fully understand the rural BC part of that. And with Shirley Bond as Solicitor General, I think that's a benefit to us in rural BC because we have huge issues with respect to rural policing, rural crime and enforcement, and Shirley will be able to bring that to that file. Having said that, though, we need three other things from the Premier. Number one is, will we have the referendum on HST in June? Yes or no? We need to clarify that. There's been comments made, there's been commitments made, but we don't have an agenda that will guarantee we get that referendum June 24th and get the HST monkey off our backs. Number two, will we get a budget and when? Because if you look at Pat Bell's ministry, for example, Jobs, Innovation and Tourism, that ministry doesn't exist relative to the budget that was tabled in the House in February. So until we actually get programs, service plans, dollars assigned to programs, spending authority assigned to ministers, we really don't know what the agenda is for the province. So we need that budget sooner rather than later, and we need the Premier to tell us when we will see that budget, when it will be put together. And then the third piece is, will Premier Clark be running in a by-election? If so, when? Or are we looking at a general election in September? Because unfortunately, and the rumblings and the rumor mill and the tweet world is all saying it looks like a provincial election in the fall. That may mean that this work that's being done with cabinet, the failure to get a budget, is all because we're just again in a stall mode until September. So for the Cariboo, for us, in order to get predator control programs, in order to get seniors housing and affordable housing, we really need the budget that supports the cabinet appointments and supports the Premier's new direction. So I'm hoping over the next few days we will get crystal clear direction from the new Premier on when she's going to get elected, whether or not we're going to a fall election, when we'll get the budget, and when that referendum will be held. In the meantime, we continue to do work as usual. I've been meeting with folks around affordable housing units for the Quesnel area. I met with BC Housing. I've met with Northern Health. We're going to continue to advance that agenda. We will go now to Shirley Bond as a Solicitor General on gaming grants and get clarity on that. We will write to every new minister all of the letters and queries that you have. We'll reassign those letters to the new minister and continue to try and find out what the answers are. And this week I was down in Wildwood where we've got, again, another threat of a school closure or a school being downgraded from an elementary school to K through 3. So our work doesn't end. I'm looking forward to meeting the new ministers, looking forward to take your issues to these new ministers, but I hope for all of our sakes to get stability back in government, we get direction on the referendum, the budget, and the election sometime soon. In the meantime, I will continue to be your voice in Victoria.